The phone screen lit up in the dark, and Maya's breath caught when she saw Ethan's name appear. The message read, "We need to talk," and it was as if the floor beneath her had collapsed. She whispered, "Not now, please, not like this." But silence pressed back. Memories of late-night calls and whispered promises flickered in her mind, but the words on the screen crushed them. Ethan had been distant for weeks, drifting like a shadow she could never hold. Maya's chest ached as she stared at the message, waiting for another bubble of text to appear. None came. She felt the world shrink around her tiny apartment, the hum of the fridge sounding like a taunt. She tapped the screen, hoping for a glitch, but the words remained, cold, sharp, final. The question wasn't just what he meant, but whether she could survive the answer. Her trembling hand almost dropped the phone. She muttered, "This is the end, isn't it?" Yet she didn't dare reply. In that moment, time slowed, grief poured in, and all she could do was drown silently in the glow of his message. Maya sat frozen, staring at the words again and again, as if repetition would change them. She whispered, "He wouldn't end it this way, would he?" But doubt pressed harder with every passing second. She remembered the last call where Ethan had laughed, but sounded distant, his voice hollow under the weight of miles. Her mind ran circles. Maybe he lost his job, maybe he was sick, maybe it wasn't her at all. Yet every possibility felt like a blade. The apartment clock ticked loudly, mocking her, each second a reminder that Ethan wasn't typing, wasn't reaching back. She wanted to scream, but only a broken whisper left her lips. "Say something." Her chest felt hollow, her ribs cages of fear. The silence wasn't empty, it was an answer on its own. A storm brewed outside, thunder cracking in sync with her heartbeat. She pressed the phone against her forehead, praying for any sign of life, but the screen stayed cruelly still. Maya's chest tightened as memories fought the silence. She thought of their first meeting, the call that lasted till sunrise. Ethan had promised, "Distance means nothing when hearts are near." She clung to that phrase like scripture. She remembered laughing with him about movies neither finished, singing badly across the line, whispering his name like it kept him real. But tonight, those memories mocked her. She pressed replay on a voice note he once sent, his tone warm and alive. The sound filled the room, but it only made the silence after it more unbearable. Maya murmured, "You were supposed to stay." Her voice cracked, breaking against the weight of absence. She hugged her knees, rocking gently, as if motion could anchor her. Outside, rain battered the glass, each drop sounding like footsteps walking away. She clutched the phone tighter, afraid to let go, afraid it was all she had left. The phone buzzed once, and she jumped, hope surging, but it was only a useless app notification. She threw it aside, then scrambled to pick it back up, as if abandoning it was betrayal. She whispered, "Answer me, Ethan," though she knew he wasn't listening. She dialed his number, pressed it against her ear, and listened to the endless ring. Each chime felt heavier than the last, like stones piling on her chest. No answer. She tried again. No answer. Her breathing quickened, panic rising with the storm outside. She dropped the phone on the bed, staring at it as if it had turned against her. The sound of rain and thunder filled the silence where his voice should have been. She clutched her stomach, nausea washing over her, her body rebelling against her hope. She muttered through clenched teeth, "Don't do this to me." But the screen stayed black, and the night grew darker. Hours dragged like years. The message still stared back from the phone screen, unchanging, merciless. Maya sat on the floor now, legs numb, staring into emptiness. She muttered, "It's over, isn't it?" Though the words cut her deeper than silence. Her heart felt like glass cracking under pressure. She wanted to call again, scream, beg, but something inside whispered that no reply was also an answer. She imagined Ethan far away, his phone in his hand, choosing not to care. She shook her head violently, rejecting the thought, but it kept clawing back. She looked at the rain outside, each drop blurring the city lights, each streak a reflection of her own unraveling. She buried her face in her arms, her body trembling, wishing she could rewind to before the message arrived. Yet she knew there was no going back. That single line had already carved itself into her chest. Morning light broke through the curtains, but Maya felt no warmth. She dragged herself to the mirror, staring at hollow eyes that no longer looked like hers. She whispered, "You can't fall apart, not yet." She thought of Ethan's laugh, the way he promised forever, and how much of her life had been bent around his absence. She had skipped nights out with friends, missed family dinners, all for the hope of hearing his voice across a screen. She lived in waiting rooms of silence, believing that love across distance could still grow. Her phone buzzed, and her heart leapt, but it was only a bill reminder. She tossed it aside, clutching her stomach as a wave of emptiness rolled through her. She muttered, "Why does it still feel worth it?" The loneliness clawed harder when the room was filled with nothing but her own breathing. She knew she had given too much, yet she feared there was nothing left if she let go. Nights were the hardest. Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her phone balanced on her chest like a weight. She whispered, "Call me please," into the darkness, as if the walls might deliver her words across continents. Every vibration felt like salvation, but each was a false alarm. She scrolled endlessly through old texts, rereading promises that once lit her world. Ethan had written, "I'll always choose you, no matter the miles." She pressed the words against her heart like armor, though they cut sharper with every passing day. The silence became unbearable, and she replayed an old voicemail just to hear his laugh. It filled the room for 30 seconds, then vanished, leaving her gasping for more. She curled tighter beneath the blanket, clutching the phone as if it might disappear. Her chest ached, not from absence alone but from the fear that her devotion was a story only she was still telling. Maya replayed the sweet fragments, each one now a cruel echo. She thought of Ethan's clumsy guitar playing over video calls, the way he'd tilt his head and say, "You're my anchor." She smiled weakly remembering it, then felt the smile collapse under grief. She scrolled to photos of them together, grainy selfies from airport meetings, blurry sunsets with his arm wrapped around her shoulders. "You were real," she whispered, pressing the screen to her lips. But her stomach twisted as she saw how long it had been since the last photo. She wondered if he still kept their pictures, or if they were buried under new ones. The thought cut her deeper than any silence. She shut her eyes, clutching the phone tighter, whispering, "Don't replace me." The storm outside had quieted, but inside her chest, the thunder rolled on. Her body shook, but her grip on those memories held tighter still. The next evening, Noah knocked softly before entering her apartment. He looked at her sunken face and sighed. "Maya, you can't keep waiting like this." She bristled, hugging her knees, replying, "You don't understand. He loves me." Noah sat across from her, voice steady but firm. "People who love you don't vanish into silence." His words sliced through the haze, but Maya shook her head. "He's just busy," she insisted, though the doubt in her voice betrayed her. Noah leaned closer, eyes full of compassion. "You deserve more than a ghost on the other side of a phone." She turned away, unwilling to let go of her fragile thread of hope. His truth pressed like a weight on her chest, but denial was easier than facing the crack in her heart. The room felt too small, his words too loud. She whispered, "If I let go, then what's left of me?" After Noah left, silence returned heavier than before. Maya paced the room, replaying his words. They stung because they were true, yet she clung to denial like it was oxygen. She muttered, "He loves me, he has to." She walked to the window, watching the city lights blur in the drizzle. Somewhere out there, Ethan was breathing the same night air, yet he felt galaxies away. She pressed her forehead to the glass, her reflection fractured by a raindrop. Her phone buzzed, but it was only another useless notification. She threw it onto the bed, frustration boiling over, then quickly picked it up again, heart breaking at the thought of missing his reply. She sat on the floor, staring at the blank screen. "Please choose me," she whispered. The night stretched endlessly, her body anchored in waiting, her hope both poison and lifeline. She curled into herself, trembling against the cold silence. Days slipped into each other, but the silence between Maya and Ethan grew sharper. She stared at her phone, scrolling their old conversations, the last real message weeks old. "Why won't you answer me?" she muttered, her voice cracking. She tried calling again, but the line rang endlessly before falling into nothing. Each unanswered attempt felt like a door slammed in her face. She remembered how Ethan once said, "I'll never let distance win." But those words now mocked her. She clutched the phone tight, as if it might bleed honesty if she held hard enough. Her chest tightened, the air too heavy to breathe. Friends sent her messages she ignored. Family left voicemails she couldn't face. Her world had shrunk to a glowing rectangle, a lifeline that only cut deeper. The waiting became torture, and each second without him screamed louder than thunder. She whispered, "Don't let me go," but the silence screamed back louder. The time zones turned into enemies. When Maya tried to call, Ethan never picked up. When he finally sent a short reply, she was asleep. She woke to messages that read like obligations, cold and clipped. "Sorry, busy. Talk later." They burned her more than silence. She whispered, "Talk later never comes." She set alarms at odd hours, dragging herself out of bed to wait for his calls that never arrived. Her body ached, dark circles etched deep under her eyes. Her hope felt more fragile with every passing dawn. She stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, whispering, "Is this what love looks like?" Her voice shook, yet she clung tighter. She lived between two clocks, hers and his, and neither gave her peace. Her days blurred, consumed by waiting. And each unanswered ring felt like proof that miles could kill what promises tried to keep alive. Scrolling late into the night, Maya found photos of Ethan posted by friends. In one, he laughed at a cafe table, arm draped around Lena. Her breath caught. She whispered, "Who is she?" Her chest tightened, jealousy clawing like fire. The caption was innocent, yet her mind twisted it into betrayal. She zoomed in on Lena's smile, Ethan's relaxed arm, his carefree grin, the kind she hadn't seen in weeks. Her throat closed, her stomach churned. She muttered, "He has time for them, but not for me." Doubt seeped into every corner of her mind. Maybe Lena wasn't just a friend. Maybe Ethan was already gone, and she was clinging to a ghost. She shut the phone, trembling, tears streaming hot and bitter. The silence became heavier now, filled with imagined laughter and whispered secrets. She curled into herself, choking on the thought of being replaced. The jealousy didn't fade, it grew. Every unanswered call now carried Lena's smile behind it. Maya paced her room, muttering, "She's there. She gets his time." Her heart hammered as paranoia spiraled. She scrolled through Lena's posts, dissecting each like a crime scene. Ethan's name tagged in captions, his shadow in backgrounds. It was enough to break her in half. She remembered how he once told her, "No one could ever replace you," but those words cracked like glass under pressure. She slammed her phone onto the table, then quickly picked it up again, terrified of missing him. She whispered, "Tell me she means nothing." But the night stayed silent. Every sound outside, the cars, the laughter of neighbors, felt like mockery. She pressed her forehead to her knees, her body trembling, unable to stop imagining his voice calling someone else by the name she thought was hers alone. By the week's end, Maya barely recognized herself. She sat by the window, staring at the city lights, blurred by tears. She muttered, "He's slipping away." Her voice sounded foreign, fragile. She remembered Ethan's last visit, the way he held her in the airport whispering, "I'll come back for you." That promise had kept her breathing. Now it felt like a lie wrapped in tenderness. Her phone buzzed once, her heart leapt, but it was only a work email. She let out a broken laugh that turned into a sob. She pressed her forehead to the glass, whispering, "Please don't let me be wrong about you." But her reflection only stared back, fractured by raindrops. The silence had turned into a third presence in the room, louder than her thoughts. Her loyalty had become her chain, and each second dragged her deeper into despair she couldn't shake. Maya sat hunched at her desk, scrolling again, when her chest froze. A bank notification blinked across her screen, showing a transfer she never made. Ethan's name tied to it. She whispered, "What is this?" Her stomach churned, pulse racing. She dug deeper, her shaking hands clicking through months of statements. There it was. Money leaving her account, recurring, hidden in the silence. Her breath caught. Ethan had asked for help once, said he was short, but she never imagined it would repeat. "Did he use me?" she murmured, voice breaking. Her hands pressed to her face as her world tilted sideways. Each transaction was a knife, proof that love had cost her more than she'd admitted. Her chest hollowed with dread, her mind racing with questions. Had all the waiting, all the promises been built on her sacrifice alone? Tears blurred the screen as she gasped. "What have I done to myself?" Maya called Ethan immediately, her hands shaking. The line rang, then clicked. His voice, casual, almost distracted, filled her ear. "Hey, I was busy." Rage and despair collided in her chest. She whispered, "Busy stealing from me?" Silence followed, then a sigh. Ethan muttered, "I thought you'd understand. It wasn't much." Her breath hitched, her chest tightening. "Not much, it was mine," she cried, her voice breaking. He snapped back, "I needed it. I didn't want to ask every time." Her vision blurred as tears poured down. She whispered, "So you took it instead?" His silence cut deeper than words. Her hands trembled as her breath came in gasps. She whispered again, broken, "Was I just a wallet to you?" Ethan muttered, "Don't be dramatic." The words sliced her, leaving her gasping for air, as if her love had been reduced to nothing but numbers on a screen. The call ended abruptly, leaving Maya in silence so heavy it crushed her. She threw the phone onto the bed, then collapsed beside it. Her hands clutched at her chest, as if trying to hold her heart together. "You lied to me," she whispered, rocking gently, her breath uneven. She remembered his soft promises, "I'll protect you, I'll never hurt you," and felt them splinter into dust. Her body trembled, rage mixing with grief. She clawed at the blanket, tears staining the fabric. The thought of him laughing with Lena, carefree and whole, while she was hollowed out, made her stomach twist. "You chose her, you took from me, and I still beg to matter," she gasped. Her voice cracked into the quiet. She buried her face into her hands, unable to recognize herself. Hope had become betrayal, devotion had become theft, and all she had left was the echo of his silence. Noah's knock pulled her out of the spiral. She opened the door with swollen eyes, and his expression shifted to anger. "Maya, what happened?" he demanded. She broke, sobbing, "He used me, Noah. He took from me." Noah clenched his fists, pacing the room, muttering, "I told you he wasn't worth this." She shook her head, collapsing onto the couch, gasping, "I gave him everything, and he still left me empty." Noah knelt in front of her, his voice firm yet gentle. "You deserve better. You've been giving to someone who doesn't see you." She shook her head violently, whispering, "But if I let go, I'll have nothing left." Noah grabbed her trembling hands, steadying them. "You already have nothing with him." His words echoed louder than thunder, forcing her to see the truth she had buried. Tears blurred her vision as her body sagged under the unbearable weight. Later that night, alone again, Maya sat in darkness. She whispered to the quiet, "Why wasn't I enough?" Her body trembled, the words catching in her throat. She stared at the phone lying face down on the table, afraid of what silence it might hold. She closed her eyes, and Ethan's face flashed in her memory, but now it was laced with Lena's smile and the shadow of betrayal. She pressed her hands into her temples, gasping. Everything was a lie. Her chest heaved, her body curling tighter into itself. She could still hear his voice dismissing her pain, still see the trail of money gone. She whispered again, "I was nothing to you," her voice breaking. The room stayed still, merciless. She curled against the couch, clutching the blanket as if it could save her. For the first time she wondered if surviving him meant destroying the version of herself who believed. The screen lit up at last, Ethan's name flashing. Maya's hands trembled as she answered, her voice raw. "Why did you do this to me?" Silence lingered, then Ethan muttered, "You're overreacting." Rage flooded her veins. "Overreacting? You drained me. You left me waiting. You let me drown alone." Her voice shook with fury and grief. Ethan sighed. "I never asked you to wait." The words slammed into her like a blow. She gasped, "You promised me forever. You told me I was worth the distance." His tone sharpened. "I can't breathe with your need. I wanted space." Maya's chest caved as the truth seared her. Her sacrifices meant nothing. She whispered, "I gave up everything for you." But he didn't answer. Tears streaked her face as her voice cracked. "Tell me it mattered," she begged. The silence that followed was worse than cruelty. It was confirmation she had been nothing. Maya's voice rose, trembling with desperation. "You used me, Ethan. You said you loved me while you were tearing me apart." His face hardened, lips pressed into a thin line. He muttered, "I needed more than you could give." Her heart cracked. "More? I gave you my nights, my money, my soul," she screamed, voice echoing in the empty room. Ethan snapped, "You suffocated me with your neediness. Lena understands freedom. You never did." The name hit her like a bullet. Maya staggered back, clutching her chest, her voice breaking. "So, it's her. It was always her." He looked away, jaw tight, unwilling to deny it. Tears streamed as she whispered, "All those promises were just lies, weren't they?" His silence was louder than any confession. She shook her head violently, voice shattering. "You killed everything we built with your silence, your greed, your betrayal." Her sobs shook her body, but her words sharpened into steel. "You took my hope, Ethan, and you broke it." He leaned back, muttering, "I never asked for your sacrifices." Maya's breath caught as fury boiled over. "You didn't have to ask. I gave them because I loved you." Her voice thundered, breaking into sobs. Ethan exhaled coldly. "Then, that's on you." Maya's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a scream. "How can you be so cruel?" she whispered. Her chest rose and fell as if she'd been running for miles. She whispered again, "Was I ever enough?" Ethan's eyes flickered, a crack in his armor, but the silence that followed burned her worse. "Answer me," she screamed, her voice hoarse. The line buzzed faintly, static filling the void between them. The distance had never felt greater, the truth never more merciless. Maya's scream turned into a sobbing plea. "Please, Ethan, tell me it wasn't all a lie. Tell me I mattered." Ethan's voice grew sharp, cutting. "I can't keep carrying this relationship. I'm done." Her legs buckled, and she sank to the floor, the phone slipping from her hands. She whispered, "You're done with me." He replied flatly, "Yes." The word shattered her like glass. She clutched her chest, gasping as though the air itself betrayed her. Her tears blurred the world, and her voice trembled. "I waited. I believed. I gave you everything." Ethan's voice came faint, final. And it wasn't enough. Maya let out a broken scream, her body curling in agony. The silence that followed was deafening, a void swallowing her entire being. She pressed her forehead to the floor, whispering over and over, "Don't leave me," but the call had already ended. The silence after the call ended roared louder than his words. Maya pressed her face into her hands, trembling uncontrollably. "He's gone," she whispered, her voice hollow. The phone glowed faintly on the carpet, its stillness cruel. Every memory of him rushed back, his laugh, his touch, his promises, now all poison. She clutched her chest as her sobs echoed through the empty apartment. Her body felt weightless and heavy at once, sinking into despair. She gasped, "I can't breathe without him," but the silence offered no mercy. Her tears soaked the rug as she curled tighter, her body convulsing with grief. Hours blurred into darkness, and she realized with piercing clarity that the love she worshipped had destroyed her. She whispered into the void, "You broke me," and the words felt final, carved into the night. Outside the storm eased, but inside her, the thunder never stopped. The night after Ethan ended it, Maya sat by the window, numb. The city lights blurred through raindrops, but she saw none of it. Her voice cracked. "It's really over." She pressed her palm to the glass, whispering, "How do I breathe without you?" The phone lay silent beside her, mocking her with its stillness. For the first time she didn't reach for it. Her chest ached, but the tears had run dry. She sat there staring at the sky until the stars blurred, her body heavy, her heart emptied out. Silence became her companion now, cruel but familiar. She whispered one more time, "You don't get to break me forever." The words didn't sound strong, but they existed. That was enough. Morning came gray and heavy. Maya sat at the kitchen table, staring at a cold cup of coffee. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, words from months ago, "Long distance will only hurt you." She whispered bitterly, "You were right." She pressed her forehead to the table, shoulders trembling. The weight of her family's disapproval now felt like chains, their warnings proof of her failure. She hated that they had seen the ending before she did. The silence of the apartment pressed harder than any judgment, and she muttered, "I should have listened." But her voice cracked into a sob, because listening would have meant letting go of hope before it had the chance to break her. Later Noah came by, his expression soft but stern. "Maya, you have to stop torturing yourself," he said. She shook her head, whispering, "He was my everything." Noah sat across from her, voice steady. "That's the problem. You gave him all of you and left nothing for yourself." She closed her eyes, tears slipping free. "I don't know who I am without him." Noah leaned closer, voice firm. "Then maybe it's time to find out." His words stung, but they also lit something faint inside her. She didn't answer, but for the first time, she didn't argue either. Maya wandered through her apartment that evening, gathering Ethan's things. A hoodie he had left behind, a book they had shared. Each item was a memory, each touch a wound. She whispered, "You don't live here anymore." Her hands trembled, but she shoved the items into a box. Tears burned her eyes, but she kept moving, refusing to stop. Every object carried weight, but with each one she packed away, the air felt slightly clearer. She whispered, "I'm not your home anymore." The words broke her, but they also built something faint, fragile, and new. By nightfall the box sat by the door. Maya curled on the couch, staring at it, her body exhausted. She whispered, "I let you go." Her voice cracked, but the words stayed. She hugged the blanket tight, rocking slightly. Her chest ached, but she felt something new, a space where his shadow had lived. It hurt, but it was hers again. She whispered, "Maybe I'll survive this." Her eyes closed, sleep pulling her down, heavy but not empty. For the first time, the silence didn't feel like a cage. It felt like the start of something unsteady, but hers. Morning light spilled into the apartment, soft and golden. Maya stirred on the couch, eyes swollen but dry. She looked at the phone on the table and didn't reach for it. For the first time, she let it sit untouched. She whispered, "I don't need you to breathe." Her voice was weak but real. She pushed herself upright, every muscle heavy, yet something lighter stirred inside. The silence still ached, but it no longer owned her. Maya walked to the mirror, studying her reflection. The face staring back was tired, bruised by grief, but still hers. She touched the glass, whispering, "I see you again." The girl who had been swallowed by waiting now looked back at her, broken but alive. For the first time, she felt like maybe she could become someone beyond the pain. Later, she opened her laptop, scrolling past Ethan's name and her messages without stopping. Her heart still clenched, but her hands didn't tremble. She whispered, "I won't beg anymore." Her finger hovered, then pressed delete. The thread vanished, leaving only empty space on the screen. Her breath shook, but she exhaled. For the first time, she chose silence for herself. That night, she stood by the window again. The city lights glowed steady, rain no longer falling. She whispered, "I survived you." Her reflection stared back, no longer fractured by tears. Her body still trembled, but not from despair, from the unfamiliar weight of freedom. The silence didn't break her anymore. Maya lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Her phone lit once, Ethan's name flashing across it. Her chest tightened, but she didn't move. The glow faded, swallowed by darkness. She whispered, "Not anymore." Her eyes closed, and for the first time, the silence felt like peace,